shimmered like liquid gold. It floated high above the surface of Zenith Prime, the capital planet of the galaxy's most powerful alliance. The room buzzed with quiet murmurs as representatives from dozens of species gathered around the circular table. Each delegate sat in their own custom-designed chair, built to accommodate tails, tentacles, wings, or whatever else their biology required. At the far end of the table, Earth's ambassador Luke Carter adjusted his collar nervously. Luke wasn't used to this kind of attention. He had been chosen not because he was charismatic or intimidating, but because he was calm under pressure. Or at least that's what they told him when they gave him the job. Right now, though, he felt anything but calm. His palms were sweaty, and his heart raced as the Virexian delegate, a tall, insect-like creature with glowing green eyes, leaned forward to speak. "Earth," the Virexian said, its voice clicking and buzzing through the translation device embedded in the table. "Your request for unrestricted access to advanced propulsion technology has been denied. Again." A ripple of laughter spread through the chamber. Some delegates covered their mouths with clawed hands or scaled fingers, while others openly guffawed. Even the usually stoic Luthans who resembled bipedal wolves let out low growls that sounded suspiciously like chuckles. Luke clenched his jaw but forced himself to stay still. This wasn't the first time Earth had been mocked during these meetings, and it wouldn't be the last. But today felt different. Today, something inside him snapped. "And why is that?" Luke asked, his voice steady despite the storm brewing inside him. "We've contributed resources. We've followed every rule you've set. What more do you want from us?" The Virexian tilted its head, antennae twitching slightly. "Want? Nothing. You misunderstand, Ambassador Carter. This is not about what we want. It is about what you deserve. Your species is young, reckless, and prone to violence. Giving you access to such technology would be irresponsible." More laughter erupted, louder this time. One of the aquatic nereids bubbled up a series of sounds that translated into giggles. A Threxian delegate slapped the table with a thick, armored hand, clearly enjoying the spectacle. Luke glanced around the room, searching for even a hint of sympathy, but found none. To them, Earth was a joke, a curious little planet full of short-lived mammals who thought they could play with the big kids. He took a deep breath and leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "You think we're reckless? Maybe we are. But we're also survivors. We adapt, we learn, and we don't give up. If you won't share your knowledge willingly, we'll find another way." The chamber fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the Virexian clicked its mandibles together and sneered. "Another way? Oh, how quaint. Tell me, Ambassador, do you plan to steal our secrets? Or perhaps reverse engineer scraps left behind by crashed ships? Do you truly believe you can compete with civilizations that have mastered interstellar travel, while your ancestors were still throwing rocks at each other?" This time the laughter was deafening. Luke felt his face flush, but he didn't look away. Instead, he stared directly into the Virexian's glowing eyes and smiled faintly. "Believe what you want," he said softly. "But remember this. Never underestimate someone who refuses to stay down." Without waiting for a response, Luke stood up and straightened his suit. He nodded curtly to the council leader, a massive floating orb of energy known as the Caliph, and turned to leave. As he walked toward the exit, he could feel the weight of countless alien gazes on his back. Some were amused, others were curious. A few seemed almost concerned. Once outside the chamber, Luke pressed a small button on his wristband. A secure channel opened, connecting him to a hidden facility buried deep beneath Denver. On the other end, a woman's voice answered immediately. "Go ahead, Ambassador," said Dr. Karen Mitchell, her tone brisk and professional. "They laughed," Luke replied, his voice tight with barely contained anger. "They laughed at us again." There was a pause, then a soft sigh. "Good. That means they haven't figured it out yet." "What do you mean?" Karen hesitated before responding. "Operation Echo is ready. Everything we've been working on for the past decade, it's finally operational. All we need is the signal." Luke nodded, even though she couldn't see him. Send it. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate us. Understood. Preparing transmission now. As the connection ended, Luke stepped onto a transport platform and keyed in his destination, Earth. He knew what came next wouldn't be easy. The galaxy would react with fear, confusion, and possibly hostility. But for the first time in years, he felt a spark of hope. Humanity wasn't perfect. They made mistakes. They argued among themselves. But one thing was certain. They weren't going to sit quietly in the corner anymore. Back on Earth, deep within the underground bunker, Colonel Ray Harper watched as technicians activated a series of consoles. Screens flickered to life, displaying streams of data and blinking status indicators. In the center of the room, a holographic map of the solar system rotated slowly. Harper crossed his arms and looked at Karen. "You really think this will work?" She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "It has to. If we're wrong, the galaxy will crush us. But if we're right..." She trailed off, letting the implication hang in the air. Harper nodded grimly. "Then the galaxy better buckle up." Moments later, the transmission went live. Across the stars, billions of beings received the message simultaneously. No words, just coordinates and a countdown. 60 seconds, 59, 58. In orbit around a distant moon, sleek black ships began to move into position. Their engines hummed softly, almost imperceptibly. On their hulls, a single word gleamed faintly in the starlight. Earth. The clock ticked down. 40 seconds, 39, 38. And somewhere, in the depths of space, the Galactic Council watched and waited to see what humanity would do next. The air smelled faintly of metal and electricity. The walls were lined with monitors displaying streams of data, glowing softly in the dim light. Technicians moved quickly between stations, their faces tense but focused. At the center of it all stood Dr. Karen Mitchell, her sharp eyes scanning the room as she barked orders. "Status report," she called out, her voice cutting through the hum of activity. A young man named Alex hurried over, clutching a tablet. "All systems are online, Doctor. The countdown has started. We're at T-minus 40 minutes. Karen nodded, her expression unreadable. She turned to Colonel Ray Harper, who leaned against a nearby console, arms crossed. His rugged face was calm, but there was a flicker of unease in his dark eyes. "You sure about this, Karen?" he asked quietly. "Once we do this, there's no turning back." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stared at the holographic map floating above the main console. It showed the solar system with dozens of red dots marking the positions of Earth's secret ships. Each dot represented years of work, years of hiding, planning, and preparing for this exact moment. "We've been ready for this for a long time, Ray," she finally said, her voice steady. "The galaxy thinks we're weak. They think we're insignificant. Today, we prove them wrong." Harper sighed and pushed himself off the console. "I just hope you're right, because if this goes sideways, we're not just risking Earth, we're risking everything." Karen gave him a small, tired smile. "We've already risked everything. This is our chance to take it back." Across the room, another technician raised a hand. "Doctor, we've got confirmation from the orbital satellites. The signal is live. Every species in range will see it." Karen nodded. "Good. Let's make sure they don't forget it." On the other side of the galaxy, the message reached its intended audience. The coordinates pointed to a barren moon orbiting a gas giant on the edge of explored space. Nothing special, not a resource hub, not a strategic location, just an empty rock drifting silently in the void. But the countdown attached to the message sparked curiosity and fear. On Zenith Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The chamber was chaotic, delegates shouting over one another as they tried to make sense of what had happened. The Virexian delegate clicked its mandibles furiously, demanding answers. The Luthans growled low, their fur bristling. Even the usually composed Kalith orb pulsed with agitation. "What is this?" the Virexian demanded. What are they doing? No one knew, but everyone watched. As the countdown reached 0, the moon vanished in a flash of blinding light. For a moment, the entire sector of space seemed to shudder. Then silence. The moon was gone, replaced by a swirling cloud of debris that slowly began to drift apart. In the council chamber, stunned silence fell. No one spoke. No one moved. Then, one by one, the delegates turned to their screens, checking reports from their own fleets and observation posts. The same question echoed in every mind. How did they do that? Back on Earth, Luke Carter landed in Denver and was quickly escorted to the bunker. When he walked into the command center, Karen greeted him with a tight smile. "It worked," she said simply. Luke nodded, though his face was pale. "And now the galaxy knows we're serious." "They'll be scared," Harper added, stepping forward. "But scared people are dangerous. What happens next depends on how they react." Karen glanced at the monitors, where real-time updates streamed in from Earth satellites and listening posts. Already the galaxy was buzzing. News outlets on alien worlds were scrambling to cover the event. Some species speculated that Earth had developed a new weapon. Others wondered if it was some kind of accident or a warning. "They'll come looking for answers," Luke said, his voice firm despite the knot of anxiety in his stomach. "And when they do, we need to be ready." Karen nodded. "We will. But first we send them a message." She turned to Alex, who was still standing nearby. "Prepare the broadcast. Make sure it's clear, concise, and impossible to ignore." "Yes, Doctor," Alex replied, hurrying back to his station. Luke frowned. "What are we sending?" "A statement," Karen said. "Something they can't misunderstand. Something that tells them exactly who we are and what we're capable of." Hours later, the message went out. It wasn't delivered in words, but in images and sounds. The transmission opened with footage of Earth's history, ancient battles, towering pyramids, roaring rockets breaking free of gravity's grip. Then came scenes of modern humanity, bustling cities, sprawling farms, scientists working in labs, children laughing in parks. Finally, the screen filled with a single phrase, repeated in dozens of languages, including ones not spoken on Earth. "We listened, we learned, and now we speak." The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, reactions varied wildly. Some species were impressed, even awestruck. Others were terrified, convinced that Earth was planning an invasion. A few dismissed it as a bluff, refusing to believe that such a young civilization could pose any real threat. But everyone was talking about it. In the bunker, Karen watched the reactions unfold on the monitors. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the edge of the console, but her voice remained steady. "They're watching us now," she said, "and they'll keep watching. This is just the beginning." Harper stepped up beside her, his arms crossed again. "You really think they'll respect us after this?" Karen hesitated, then shook her head. "Respect isn't given. It's earned, and we're going to earn it, one step at a time." Luke stood nearby, staring at the holographic map. He felt a strange mix of pride and fear bubbling inside him. Pride, because humanity had finally taken a stand. Fear, because he knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long time, he felt something else too. Hope. "They thought we were nothing," he murmured, almost to himself. "They thought we'd stay quiet. They were wrong." Karen glanced at him and smiled faintly. "Yeah, they were." On the screens around them, the galaxy continued to react. Ships changed course, heading toward the coordinates of the vanished moon. Observers whispered theories and warnings. And somewhere deep in the heart of the Galactic Council, plans were already being made. Earth had sent its message. Now it was time to see what the galaxy would say in return. Message and the destruction of the moon spread faster than anyone could have imagined. Ships from dozens of species raced toward the coordinates, their sensors scanning for anything unusual. Some came out of curiosity, others came out of fear. A few came ready to fight, but when they arrived, they found nothing. Not a single piece of debris or trace of energy. Just empty space where the moon used to be. Then, as they began to scan the area, something strange appeared on their monitors. Sleek black ships, silent and unmoving, hung in orbit around the gas giant. Each ship bore no markings, no flags, only one word etched into the hull. Earth. The crews aboard the alien ships hesitated. No one fired. No one spoke. They just stared at the unfamiliar vessels, trying to understand what they were seeing. Were these ships weapons, scouts, or something else entirely? On board one of the human ships, Captain Jake Daniels watched the chaos unfold on his screen. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a faint smile playing on his lips. Around him, his crew worked quietly, monitoring the situation and relaying updates back to Earth. "They're scared," said Lieutenant Emily Ross, her voice calm but tinged with satisfaction. She stood near Jake, her eyes glued to the monitor showing the positions of the alien ships. "Look at them, they don't know what to do." Jake nodded. "Good. Let them sweat for a while." Emily glanced at him. "You think they'll try something?" He shrugged. "Maybe, but they won't risk it unless they're sure they can win, and right now, they're not sure of anything." Back on Earth, Dr. Karen Mitchell and Colonel Ray Harper watched the same scene from the bunker. The monitors displayed feeds from multiple ships, each showing the growing crowd of alien vessels. Some species sent drones to investigate. Others held back, clearly debating their next move. "What are they waiting for?" Harper muttered, pacing back and forth. "They're waiting for us to make the first move," Karen replied, her eyes fixed on the screens. "They want to see what we'll do." "And what are we going to do?" Harper asked, stopping to look at her. Karen didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned to Alex, who was seated at a nearby console. "Any signs of aggression?" Alex shook his head. "Nothing yet. Most of them are just observing. Some are running scans, but none of their weapons are active." "Good," Karen said. "Keep it that way." Harper frowned. "You're really planning to just sit there? What's the point of all this if we don't show them what we're capable of?" "The point," Karen said sharply, turning to face him, "is to make them think twice before underestimating us again. If we attack now, they'll see us as a threat. If we stay calm and in control, they'll see us as something else entirely." Harper opened his mouth to argue but stopped himself. He knew she was right. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war, they were changing perceptions. And sometimes, doing nothing was the most powerful move of all. Meanwhile, aboard the alien ships, tensions continued to rise. The Virexians, furious at being caught off guard, demanded action. Their leader, Delegate Zarnak, contacted the Galactic Council, insisting that Earth's actions constituted an act of aggression. Other species disagreed, arguing that Earth hadn't actually attacked anyone. They destroyed a moon. Zarnak snapped during an emergency council meeting. "How is that not an act of aggression?" "It's a demonstration," countered a Luthen delegate. "A show of power, nothing more." "A dangerous precedent," growled a Threxian representative. "If we allow this, what's to stop other young species from following suit?" The debate raged on, but no consensus was reached. In the end, the council decided to send a formal inquiry to Earth, requesting clarification about the incident and demanding assurances that humanity posed no threat to galactic stability. When the message reached Earth, Luke Carter read it carefully before passing it along to Karen and Harper. "They want answers," he said, setting the tablet down on the table. "And guarantees." Karen smirked. "Guarantees? After laughing at us for years? I don't think so." "So what do we tell them?" Luke asked. "We tell them nothing," Karen replied. "At least not directly. Let the ships handle it." Hours later, the alien ships received a new transmission. It wasn't text or audio. It was a holographic projection. On every screen, the image of a man appeared. His face was calm, his expression neutral. Behind him, Earth loomed large, its blue oceans and swirling clouds visible through the viewport of what appeared to be a spaceship bridge. My name is Captain Jake Daniels, the man said, his voice firm and clear. I represent the people of Earth. We've listened to your concerns, we've studied your technologies, and now we offer you a choice. The camera panned slightly, revealing rows of human crew members working behind him. None of them looked afraid. None of them flinched. You may continue to watch us, Jake continued. You may ask questions and we will answer, to a point. But know this. Earth is no longer a passive observer in this galaxy. We are participants, equals, and we will defend ourselves and our future with everything we have. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the alien crew stunned. Some laughed it off, dismissing Jake's words as bravado. Others whispered nervously, wondering if humanity truly had the power to back up its claims. In the days that followed, the alien ships lingered, watching silently. Earth's fleet remained still, neither advancing nor retreating. The standoff stretched on, neither side willing to blink. But somewhere deep within the Galactic Council chambers, plans were already being made. Some delegates argued for diplomacy, others pushed for force, and a few began to wonder if perhaps humanity's rise couldn't be stopped after all. Earth had made its move. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would respond. In orbit around the gas giant, their sensors scanning Earth's vessels endlessly. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find any weaknesses. The black ships were silent, their systems invisible to detection. Even the most advanced probes sent by the Virexians and Threxians came back empty-handed. Captain Jake Daniels watched it all from the bridge of his flagship. He didn't feel anxious or impatient. Instead, he felt a quiet confidence. Humanity had spent years preparing for this moment, years of studying alien tech, reverse engineering it, and building something entirely new. These ships weren't just machines, they were symbols of what Earth could achieve when pushed too far. They're still out there, Lieutenant Emily Ross said, glancing at her monitor. Nothing's changed. Good, Jake replied, leaning back in his chair. Let them watch. Every second they spend staring at us is another second they realize we're not going anywhere. Emily nodded but frowned slightly. Do you think they'll try something eventually? Jake shrugged. Maybe, but they'll have to decide if it's worth the risk. Right now they don't know what we're capable of. And that uncertainty is our greatest weapon. Back on Earth, Dr. Karen Mitchell and Colonel Ray Harper kept close tabs on the situation. The bunker was alive with activity as technicians monitored every move made by the alien fleets. On one of the screens, a map showed the positions of the ships, each dot labeled with the species it belonged to. Some clusters moved closer together, while others drifted apart. They're talking, Karen said, pointing to the shifting patterns, trying to figure out what to do next. Harper crossed his arms and leaned against the console. What do you think they'll decide? Karen sighed. It depends. Some will push for diplomacy, others will want to test us, but none of them will act alone. Not yet. As if on cue, Alex called out from his station. We've got incoming transmissions. Multiple sources. Karen turned to him. Put them on screen. The monitors flickered to life, showing faces from different species. A Virexian delegate clicked its mandibles angrily, demanding answers. A Luthen representative growled low, insisting on negotiations. A Nereid bubbled softly, asking for clarification. Each message was different, but the underlying tone was the same. What does Earth want? Karen stepped forward, addressing the room. Ignore them. For now, let the silence speak for us. Harper raised an eyebrow. You really think that's the best idea? They're getting restless. It's exactly the right idea, Karen replied. Every unanswered question makes them doubt themselves, and doubt is dangerous for them. Meanwhile, aboard the alien ships, frustration began to boil over. The Virexians, tired of waiting, launched a small drone toward one of Earth's vessels. The drone hovered cautiously, scanning the ship's surface. Then, without warning, it exploded into a shower of sparks. The crew of the alien ship froze, staring at their monitors in shock. No weapon had been fired, no energy signature detected. The drone had simply vanished. "What happened?" demanded Zarnak, the Virexian leader, during an emergency meeting with other delegates. "Did they destroy it?" "No," replied a Threxian engineer. "Our scans show no evidence of an attack. It's as if the drone ceased to exist." Zarnak clicked his mandibles furiously. "This proves nothing. They're hiding something." "Perhaps," said a Luthen diplomat. "But it also proves they are not eager to escalate. If they wanted war, they would have attacked by now." The debate raged on, but no clear decision emerged. Some species suggested sending a diplomatic envoy to Earth. Others argued for more aggressive measures. In the end, the Council decided to invite Earth to another summit, but this time under very different terms. When the invitation reached Earth, Luke Carter read it carefully. The Council promised safe passage and a neutral location for negotiations, but there was a catch. Earth was required to send representatives and leave their ships behind. Luke handed the message to Karen and Harper. "They want us to come unarmed," he said. "What do we do?" Karen smirked. "We go, but not the way they expect." Harper frowned. "You mean?" She nodded. "No humans, just AI." The plan was simple but bold. Earth would send an autonomous drone programmed to respond only with pre-recorded statements and data. There would be no live communication, no room for negotiation. The drone would deliver Earth's message, and nothing more. Days later, the Galactic Council gathered in a massive chamber designed for high-stakes diplomacy. When Earth's representative arrived, the delegates were shocked. Instead of a human ambassador, a sleek metallic drone floated into the room, its surface reflecting the light like polished silver. The drone activated, projecting a holographic image of Earth's blue planet. Then it began to speak, its voice calm and measured. It played recordings of ancient speeches by human leaders, interspersed with clips of scientific breakthroughs and cultural milestones. Finally, it displayed a single line of text. "We listened, we learned, and now we speak." The drone fell silent, hovering motionless in the center of the room. The delegates stared at it, unsure of what to say. Some whispered among themselves. Others sat in stunned silence. Zarnak was the first to break the tension. "This is unacceptable," he snapped. "Where are your ambassadors? Where are your leaders?" The drone responded with a recorded voice. "Earth requires no further explanation. Our actions speak for themselves." Zarnak clicked his mandibles furiously, but before he could argue further, another delegate, a Luthen, spoke up. "Perhaps this is enough. Perhaps we have underestimated them." The room erupted into chaos, voices rising as arguments broke out. But one thing was clear. Earth had changed the game. Whether through fear, curiosity, or respect, the galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. Far away, aboard his ship, Jake Daniels watched the council meeting on a secure feed. He smiled faintly, then turned to Emily. "Looks like they're finally taking us seriously." Emily nodded. "And this is just the beginning." In the bunker, Karen and Harper watched the same scene unfold. Karen leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smile on her face. "They thought we were weak. They thought we'd stay quiet. Now they know better." Harper crossed his arms, a hint of pride in his voice. "Yeah. And the best part? We haven't even shown them everything yet." Earth's message had been delivered. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would respond. Over one another, their voices echoing through the massive chamber. Some argued that Earth's drone was an insult, a deliberate mockery of diplomatic traditions. Others saw it as a calculated move, designed to show humanity's strength without risking lives. Zarnak, the Virexian delegate, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This proves nothing. They send a machine instead of a real ambassador. Do they think they can intimidate us?" A Luthen representative growled softly. "Intimidation? No, this is strategy. They are showing us they do not need us, not for answers, not for approval. They destroyed a moon, Zarnak snapped back. They have ships we cannot explain. And now this machine. We must act before they grow even stronger. But the room fell silent for a moment. Everyone knew what Zarnak was suggesting, a preemptive strike. But no one wanted to be the first to say it aloud. Finally, a Threxian delegate spoke up. His deep voice rumbled through the chamber. If we attack, now we risk war, not just with Earth but among ourselves. Many species here would refuse to join such a fight. And what happens if we do nothing? Zarnak demanded. Do we wait until their fleet grows too large to stop? The question hung heavy in the air. No one had an answer. The Council had always prided itself on maintaining peace across the galaxy. But Earth had changed the rules. For the first time in centuries, the Council faced a threat it didn't fully understand and couldn't easily control. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's ships, Captain Jake Daniels watched the debate unfold on a secure feed. He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a faint smile playing on his lips. They're scared, he said to Lieutenant Emily Ross, who stood nearby. You can see it in their faces. Emily nodded. Yeah, but scared people make bad decisions. What happens if they decide to hit us anyway? Jake shrugged. Then we'll be ready. But I don't think they will, not yet. They're too divided, too afraid of starting something they can't finish. Back on Earth, Dr. Karen Mitchell and Colonel Ray Harper monitored the situation from the bunker. The screens showed live updates from the Council meeting, along with reports from Earth's listening posts. Every species in the galaxy was talking about humanity now. Some were impressed, others were terrified. A few were already beginning to wonder if Earth might become an ally or a rival. Karen turned to Harper, her expression thoughtful. We've made them doubt themselves, that's good. But doubt alone won't win us respect. Harper frowned. So what's next? Another demonstration? No, Karen replied. Something different, something unexpected. She turned to Alex, who sat at a nearby console. Prepare the data packet. It's time to show them what else we can do. Alex nodded and began typing furiously. Within minutes, the packet was ready. It contained schematics for a new type of energy reactor, clean, limitless, and stable. The technology was revolutionary, far beyond anything most species had developed. And Earth was giving it away, for free. When the data packet was released, it spread across the galaxy instantly. Every ship, station, and world capable of receiving transmissions got the message. Some species downloaded it immediately, eager to study the gift. Others hesitated, suspicious of Earth's intentions. But within hours, the reactors were being tested, and they worked flawlessly. On Zenith Prime, the Council convened another emergency session. The chamber was quieter this time. The delegates too stunned to argue. The Virexians were furious, accusing Earth of trying to buy influence. The Luthans praised the gesture, calling it a sign of goodwill. The Threxians remained cautious, warning that gifts often came with strings attached. But one thing was clear. Earth had changed the conversation. No longer were they seen as just a reckless young species. Now they were innovators, creators, contributors to the galaxy's future. In the bunker, Karen watched the reactions unfold on the monitors. She felt a strange mix of pride and unease. Humanity had taken a bold step, but the road ahead was still uncertain. Do you think they'll trust us? Harper asked, breaking the silence. Karen shook her head. Not yet. Trust takes time. But this is a start. On board the alien ships near the gas giant, crews debated the meaning of Earth's gift. Some saw it as a peace offering. Others viewed it as a challenge. A few wondered if humanity was trying to prove something deeper, that they weren't just survivors, but builders. Captain Jake Daniels watched the same reactions from his bridge. He didn't feel smug or triumphant. Instead, he felt a quiet determination. Humanity had spent years being underestimated, dismissed, and laughed at. Now they were forcing the galaxy to take them seriously. We've given them something to think about, Jake said to Emily. Now let's see how they respond. Emily glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. What if they don't like it? Jake smirked. Then we'll deal with it. But I think they will. Because deep down, everyone wants something better, and we just showed them how to get it. Far away on Zenith Prime, the Council continued to argue. Some delegates pushed for sanctions against Earth, claiming the reactors were a threat to galactic stability. Others argued that rejecting the gift would make the Council look weak and out of touch. In the end, no decision was reached. The reactors remained in use, spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Earth had made its move. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would adapt. Had sparked a wave of curiosity and fear. Some species embraced the technology eagerly, integrating it into their cities and ships. Others hesitated, suspicious of humanity's motives. But no one could deny the impact. The reactors worked perfectly, providing clean and limitless power that transformed lives across dozens of worlds. On Zenith Prime, the Galactic Council struggled to keep up. The chamber buzzed with arguments as delegates debated Earth's role in the galaxy. Zarnak, the Virexian leader, paced angrily around the table, his antennae twitching with frustration. This is unacceptable, he snapped. They give away advanced technology without permission. What happens when they decide to sell weapons next? A Luthen representative growled softly. You fear progress because it challenges your control. Earth did not force this gift on anyone. Each species chose to accept it. And what if they demand something in return? Zarnak shot back. What if this is just the beginning of their expansion? The room fell silent. Everyone knew Zarnak had a point. Humanity had proven itself capable of innovation and boldness. If Earth decided to push further, who could stop them? Far away, aboard Earth's ships, Captain Jake Daniels watched the council meeting on a secure feed. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes narrowing as Zarnak's words echoed through the bridge. They're scared, Jake said quietly. Scared of what we might do next. Lieutenant Emily Ross nodded. Yeah, but scared people don't always make smart decisions. What happens if they try to stop us? Jake shrugged. Then we'll deal with it. But I think they'll wait for... Now. Back on Earth, Dr. Karen Mitchell and Colonel Ray Harper monitored the situation from the bunker. The screens showed live updates from across the galaxy. On some worlds, celebrations erupted as communities powered their homes and businesses with the new reactors. On others, protests broke out with crowds accusing their leaders of trusting humanity too quickly. Karen turned to Harper, her expression calm but thoughtful. We've given them something they can't ignore. Now we need to show them we're not just about power, we're about progress. Harper frowned. Progress doesn't always win hearts. What's the next step? Karen smiled faintly. We remind them who we are. She turned to Alex, who sat at a nearby console. Prepare the video. It's time to tell our story. Hours later, the transmission went live. Across the galaxy, billions of beings received the message simultaneously. It wasn't a speech or a negotiation. It was a short film. The video opened with scenes of Earth's history, ancient civilizations building pyramids, explorers sailing across oceans, scientists working in labs. Then came images of modern humanity, children playing in parks, engineers designing machines, astronauts floating in space. The final scene showed a group of humans standing together, their faces determined, but hopeful. A voiceover played over the footage, soft but clear. We were never the chosen ones, we were the stubborn ones, and we're just getting started. When the screen faded to black, a single line appeared in dozens of languages, including ones not spoken on Earth. Earth online, connection pending. The effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, reactions varied wildly. Some species were moved by the message, seeing humanity as a beacon of resilience and creativity. Others remained cautious, unsure if the gesture was sincere. A few saw it as a threat, a declaration, that Earth was ready to take its place among the stars, whether the galaxy liked it or not. In the council chamber, the debate reached a fever pitch. Zarnak demanded action, insisting that Earth be brought under strict oversight. The Luthans argued for patience, urging the Council to engage in dialogue rather than hostility. The Threxians remained silent, their armored forms unmoving as they weighed the risks of each option. Finally, the Calith Orb, the Council's impartial leader, spoke. Its voice resonated through the chamber, calm but firm. Earth has made its intentions clear. They seek neither war nor submission, but recognition. To ignore them would be unwise. To provoke them would be dangerous. The room fell silent. For the first time in days, no one spoke. The Council had been forced to confront a truth they could no longer deny. Earth was here to stay. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's ships, Jake watched the reactions unfold on his monitors. He didn't feel triumphant, not yet. Instead, he felt a quiet pride. Humanity had spent years being underestimated, dismissed, and laughed at. Now they were forcing the galaxy to listen. "We've done what we set out to do," Jake said to Emily. "We've shown them we're not afraid to stand our ground." Emily nodded. "And now?" Jake smirked. "Now we wait. See how they respond." Back on Earth, Karen and Harper stood in the bunker, watching the same scene play out on the monitors. Karen crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. "What happens next depends on them," she said softly. "But no matter what, we're ready." Harper glanced at her, his face tense but resolute. "You really think this will work? That they'll see us as equals?" Karen hesitated, then nodded. "I think they'll have to, because we're not going anywhere." Far away on Zenith Prime, the Council adjourned without reaching a decision. But as the delegates filed out of the chamber, one thing was clear. Earth had changed the game. Whether through fear, curiosity, or respect, the galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. The countdown on Earth's transmission continued, ticking silently across the stars. Connection pending. Humanity had sent its message. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would answer. Earth online. Connection pending. Lingered on every screen, every console, and every device capable of receiving transmissions. It wasn't a threat, but it wasn't an invitation either. It was a statement. Humanity was here, and they weren't leaving. On Zenith Prime, the Galactic Council gathered once more. This time the chamber felt heavier, the air thick with tension. Delegates from dozens of species sat silently, their eyes fixed on the central holographic display. The Calith orb floated above the table, its glow pulsing softly as it addressed the room. "The situation has evolved," the Calith said, its voice calm but firm. "Earth has demonstrated its capabilities and its intentions. We must decide how to proceed." Zarnak, the Virexian leader, clicked his mandibles furiously. "Proceed? They've already made their move. They've shown us their weapons, their technology, their defiance. Do we sit back and let them grow stronger?" A Luthan representative growled low, his fur bristling. "And what would you have us do, Zarnak? Strike first? Start a war we cannot win?" "We cannot ignore them," Zarnak snapped. "If we do nothing, they will only become more powerful, more dangerous." The Threxian delegate leaned forward, his armored hands gripping the edge of the table. "Perhaps that is the point. Perhaps this is not about fear, but respect." The chamber erupted into chaos, voices rising as delegates argued over humanity's role in the galaxy. Some called for sanctions. Others pushed for alliances. A few suggested isolation, cutting off Earth entirely. But no consensus emerged. For the first time in centuries, the Council was divided, not just by opinion but by uncertainty. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's ships, Captain Jake Daniels watched the debate unfold on a secure feed. He didn't feel smug or triumphant. Instead, he felt a quiet determination. Humanity had forced the galaxy to take notice, but the real work was just beginning. "They're scared," Jake said to Lieutenant Emily Ross, who stood nearby. "Scared of what we might do next?" Emily nodded. "Yeah, but scared people don't always make smart decisions. What happens if they try to stop us?" Jake shrugged. Then we'll deal with it. But I think they'll wait, for now. Back. On Earth, Dr. Karen Mitchell and Colonel Ray Harper monitored the situation from the bunker. The screen showed live updates from across the galaxy. On some worlds, leaders praised Earth's ingenuity. On others, protests erupted, with crowds accusing their governments of trusting humanity too quickly. But everywhere, one thing was clear: Earth was no longer an afterthought. Karen turned to Harper, her expression calm but thoughtful. "We've forced them to see us. Now we need to show them we're here to stay." Harper frowned. "How do we do that? Another demonstration?" "No," Karen replied. "Something quieter, but just as powerful." She turned to Alex, who sat at a nearby console. "Prepare the stations. It's time to show them we're building our own future." Hours later, the galaxy watched as sleek black ships began forming a ring around Sol. Each station bore no markings, no flags, only a single word etched into the hull: Earth. The structures were massive, their purpose unclear. Some speculated they were defensive outposts. Others thought they were research hubs. But everyone knew one thing: Earth wasn't asking for permission anymore. In the council chamber, the delegates stared at the monitors in stunned silence. Zarnak clicked his mandibles angrily, but even he had no words. The Luthans exchanged low growls, their expressions unreadable. The Threxians sat motionless, their armored forms unmoving as they processed what they were seeing. Finally, the Caliph, Orb, spoke. Its voice resonated through the chamber, calm but firm. "Earth has spoken. They have acted. And now, the galaxy must respond." The room fell silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, one by one, the delegates stood and left the chamber. The meeting was adjourned, not because a decision had been reached, but because none could be made. Far away, aboard Earth's ships, Jake watched the reactions unfold on his monitors. He didn't feel triumphant, not yet. Instead, he felt a quiet pride. Humanity had spent years being underestimated, dismissed, and laughed at. Now they were forcing the galaxy to listen. "We've done what we set out to do," Jake said to Emily. "We've shown them we're not afraid to stand our ground." Emily nodded. "And now?" Jake smirked. "Now we build. Show them we're not just survivors, we're creators." Back on Earth, Karen and Harper stood in the bunker, watching the same scene play out on the monitors. Karen crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. "What happens next depends on them," she said, softly, "but no matter what, we're ready." Harper glanced at her, his face tense but resolute. "You really think this will work? That they'll see us as equals?" Karen hesitated, then nodded. "I think they'll have to, because we're not going anywhere." As the galaxy continued to react, Earth's message remained unchanged. Across the stars, billions of beings stared at their screens, reading the same line over and over. Earth online. Connection pending. Humanity had sent its message. Now it was time to see how the galaxy would answer.